Welcome to Dutch Horizons, where we unlock the story of the Netherlands and its pioneering spirit in shaping the modern world. Here, you'll discover how innovation, bold ideas and diverse cultures converged on Dutch soil, transforming both Europe and the globe. If these fascinating journeys spark your curiosity, remember to like and subscribe to support more stories like this. Together, let's explore the rich tapestry of Dutch history. Today, we delve into the Dutch and religious tolerance, an episode that reveals how freedom of belief made the Dutch Republic extraordinary. You'll learn how these open attitudes drew people from across Europe, fueling trade, fresh thinking, and a vibrant society. From bustling city streets to peaceful meeting halls, discover the story of a place where tolerance became a foundation for success and harmony. Chapter 1. Diversity arrives, many faiths in one land. Imagine a city where the call to prayer, church bells, and the songs of many traditions rise together in the brisk northern air. In the 17th century Dutch Republic, this was not just a vision, but daily life. Driven by wars and persecution elsewhere, families of Jews, Catholics, Lutherans, Anabaptists and more arrived seeking safety and hope. As frightened refugees and determined pioneers entered the Republic, the city streets began to change. Merchants speaking distant dialects set up market stalls beside new neighbours. Unfamiliar holiday festivals blossomed alongside traditional Dutch customs. It was a quiet revolution, people of widely different backgrounds sharing narrow lanes, learning not only to coexist but to thrive together in newfound freedom. Shops flourished with goods from far-off lands, as religious communities brought skills and trades to their new home. Along the canals you could see distinct attire, black robes of the Mennonites, the bright scarves of Sephardic Jews, and sombre Lutheran coats. Each group kept its traditions close, but all shared the hope that here, among fellow newcomers, a more peaceful and prosperous life was possible. Dialogue became the lifeblood of the Republic's streets. Coffeehouses hummed with conversation in many tongues. Pamphlets and books exchanged hands, spreading new ideas. Tolerance was not always easy. Differences sometimes sparked conflict. Yet, the lack of forced unity meant that tolerance gradually replaced suspicion, and people learned to negotiate the boundaries of respect and belief side by side. Seventeenth-century Amsterdam and Rotterdam became magnets for thinkers, artists and merchants escaping intolerance. Families who once hid their faith could finally build synagogues, secret churches and prayer houses alongside Dutch Calvinist churches. The skyline reflected this openness. Domes, spires and modest halls stood together, symbols of a society weaving many threads into its fabric. This gathering of many faiths wasn't just a display of difference. It was a bold social experiment. The Dutch Republic became a test ground for whether diverse beliefs could shape a peaceful, creative community. As the chapter unfolds, you'll see how these early encounters laid the groundwork for new freedoms, and a model of coexistence still admired centuries later. Chapter 2. Laws and Limits, Balancing Freedom. In the bustling cities of the Dutch Republic, people from many backgrounds mingled daily. The government faced a unique challenge: how to allow so many faiths and ideas to flourish without sacrificing social harmony. This chapter explores how practical laws threaded the needle, shaping a peaceful coexistence that set the Republic apart. Dutch leaders understood that complete freedom without boundaries could threaten peace. So, they crafted policies that respected private worship, but kept public life orderly. Places of worship often blended quietly into neighbourhoods, and no single faith could dominate community spaces. This careful approach allowed people to practice their beliefs while ensuring that differences did not spill over into public tension. One distinctive Dutch policy allowed religious services only behind closed doors. This meant citizens could gather privately, but public displays of worship were discouraged. The government wanted to prevent open rivalry and protect the fragile peace on the streets. This approach helped avoid public confrontations, making tolerance not just an ideal, but a practical solution for daily city life. Balancing freedom and order required ongoing negotiation. Laws were not always written in stone, but adapted as society changed. Community leaders and magistrates often sought compromise, resolving disputes quietly through dialogue. These pragmatic choices were built on trust. Individuals honoured the rules, expecting that their own freedoms would also be respected in turn. One well-known Dutch phrase was that people could believe what they liked at home, so long as the doors were closed. This saying captures the spirit of the Republic's Law's personal beliefs flourished in private, while the bustling public squares welcomed everyone under a common code of behaviour. These unwritten understandings helped keep the social fabric strong. Religious leaders, merchants and officials alike understood that too much public friction endangered the country's prosperity. Maintaining order protected trade and encouraged newcomers to settle. Many immigrants who fled intolerance elsewhere found in the Dutch Republic a rare balancier place where protection of conscience went hand in hand with civic peace. Yet this delicate arrangement hinged on ongoing effort and mutual respect. People learned to cooperate, even if they brought different customs or worshipped in different ways. The boundaries were clear, but so were the freedoms. Through daily acts of tolerance and compromise, the Republic became a thriving crossroads, respected across Europe for its peaceful diversity. In the busy streets and canals of Dutch cities, this balance between law and liberty made everyday coexistence possible. The Republic's approach was neither naive nor inflexible. Instead, it blended pragmatism with principle. By setting clear limits while defending personal freedoms, the Dutch created a society where tolerance was both a value and an achievement. Chapter 3. Refuge and Opportunity. Attracting Talent. In this chapter, we journey alongside individuals and families who sought refuge in the Dutch Republic. Driven by hope, they arrived at bustling ports and narrow city streets, carrying dreams shaped by hardship and ambition. The tolerant atmosphere whispered possibilities to persecuted thinkers and artisans alike, inviting them to rebuild their lives and to share their talents among a population ready to welcome new beginnings. Across Europe, waves of religious and intellectual turmoil displaced countless people. The Dutch Republic, unique in its openness, became a magnet for these hopeful newcomers. Here, they discovered a place where tolerance was more than a promise. It was a living principle. Dutch cities grew vibrant with languages and customs from far-off places, as merchants, scientists and skilled workers set roots and shaped the urban landscape with their fresh perspectives. Persecuted thinkers, Jews from Portugal, Huguenots from France, and Armenians from the East found safety in Amsterdam's bustling quarters and Rotterdam's busy harbours. Each group brought distinct traditions, beliefs and practices, greatly enriching the local tapestry. The Republic did not just offer sanctuary, it offered a blank canvas for invention and expression, where new ideas could blossom alongside centuries-old customs, and innovation found eager supporters amid tolerant neighbours. Artisans and craftsmen arrived bearing more than their craft. They infused Dutch industry with foreign techniques, leading to prized textiles, masterful silversmithing, and renowned book printing. Workshops filled with a mix of accents and stories, where skills blended in ways not found elsewhere in Europe. Through this synergy, Dutch cities flourished, industries adapted, products improved, and creative arts reached dazzling new heights, all thanks to the diverse hands shaping daily life. Merchants, driven by new opportunities, brought international connections and trade networks to the Republic. Their knowledge of distant markets made Dutch ports gateways to the world, exporting cheese, tulips and printed books to every corner of Europe and beyond. As commerce thrived, so did philanthropy. Many successful newcomers used their resources to benefit schools, hospitals and city improvements, eager to give back to the place that had offered them hope. The energy and ambition of refugees rippled into education. New schools and libraries opened, welcoming children of all backgrounds and promoting learning in arts and the sciences. Scholars, once silenced elsewhere, found platforms to write and teach freely, sparking advances in philosophy, mathematics and medicine. This widespread pursuit of knowledge was not just tolerated, it was celebrated, turning Dutch cities into intellectual crossroads where ideas flowed as easily as trade. Creative arts also flourished with the Republic's openness. Refugee musicians performed in lively city squares, poets composed verses about acceptance, and painters captured scenes of multicultural streets. These newcomers, alongside native Dutch artists, created a society that valued expression and beauty in every form. Public concerts, libraries and art markets became gathering spaces, reminders that embracing difference could give rise to dazzling artistic achievements in an atmosphere of respect. Together, these individuals and families powered the Dutch Golden Age. Their innovations in business, education and the arts left an indelible mark on the Republic's character. In this chapter, we see how tolerance was more than a gracious welcome. It was a wellspring for prosperity and creativity. By opening its doors to those seeking refuge, the Dutch Republic discovered the boundless potential that comes from unity within diversity. Chapter 4. Influence on Society, Everyday Coexistence. Imagine walking through a Dutch marketplace as the sun rises. Here, shopkeepers of many backgrounds set up their stalls side by side, greeting one another with warmth and familiarity. In this lively scene, religious differences are not barriers but threads in the tapestry of daily life. Each exchange at the counter or smile shared helps weave tolerance into the very rhythm of the community. The classroom becomes another setting for this coexistence. Inside, children with varied beliefs sit together, learning not only letters and numbers, but the gentle art of sharing and listening. Teachers encourage curiosity and respect, nurturing minds open to ideas beyond their own. These early experiences, repeated year after year, nurture a generation that finds comfort and strength in diversity, seeing it as a source of richness rather than division. Neighbourhoods offer another window into the impact of religious tolerance. Doors open for celebrations across faiths. Lanterns glow for Hanukkah. Doors display wreaths at Christmas, and neighbours of all backgrounds join in. Through borrowed ingredients, shared stories, and invitations to festivities, people naturally learn compassion and build bonds across beliefs. These moments create a shared sense of belonging within the patchwork of the city. Workplaces in the Dutch Republic reflect this new spirit too. In busy warehouses and offices, people from diverse communities collaborate closely. Each voice, regardless of faith, is valued in finding solutions and innovating. Conflicts are met not with suspicion but with conversation, as colleagues learn to combine strengths and perspectives. Here, tolerance becomes practical, shaping creative partnerships and an open, thriving economy where differences lead to opportunities, Public space-city squares, libraries and parks show this peaceful coexistence. Shared benches and open forums allow debate without fear. It is common to see people gather for dialogue after work, respectfully discussing matters of faith and society. These routines not only support freedom of thought, but also foster curiosity and trust. The ability to share ideas openly becomes a kind of social glue, holding together a society built on understanding. Over time, these interactions shape the cultural habits of the entire nation. Festivals become richer, languages mix in the streets, and culinary traditions blend. Children grow up tasting foods and hearing stories from distant lands, all woven into daily life. There is a growing sense that to be Dutch means to accept and even celebrate difference, turning what once divided into something that unites and inspires the broader community. This culture of coexistence also strengthens resilience in times of challenge. When disagreements arise, there is a habit of turning to dialogue rather than confrontation. Community leaders and ordinary citizens alike step forward to mediate and listen. Tolerance is not taken for granted, but nourished by constant practice. These small, steady efforts create a living, tradition-own, passed from generation to generation, keeping peace as a foundation to generation. As daily life in the Dutch Republic is transformed, the idea of tolerance spreads quietly beyond its borders. Merchants tell visitors of the peaceful neighbourhoods and lively markets. Residents write letters describing friendships across beliefs. The Dutch example, lived out every day in homes and streets, offers hope to others seeking harmony. This chapter reminds us that coexistence is not just an idea, it is a daily choice, woven into the soul of a nation. Chapter 5. Challenges and Conflicts. Tensions Within. In the heart of the Dutch Republic, diversity brought not only new ideas and cultural riches, but also its share of challenges. As people of various backgrounds gathered, misunderstandings and debates sometimes surfaced. Living side by side did not always mean agreeing on matters of faith or custom. This chapter explores the friction that came with inclusion, and how these difficulties prompted fresh approaches to community life. Religious differences often set the stage for passionate debates, sometimes erupting in heated public arguments or chilly silences between neighbours. Political leaders and town councils found themselves called upon to mediate disputes, seeking ways to balance both freedom and order. Sometimes, tensions led to divisions that threatened to unravel social harmony. Yet, many in the Republic recognised these moments as essential tests of their fledgling societies, resilience and commitment to tolerance. Not every disagreement found a swift or easy resolution. There were times when mistrust simmered, fueling suspicion between communities. Some groups felt marginalised, while others worried about the erosion of their own traditions. In these moments, the Dutch developed patience as a virtue. Through persistent dialogue, they discovered that listening, even amid disagreement, could gradually turn enemies into neighbours and suspicion into cautious respect. Some of the most tense conflicts unfolded in courts and council chambers rather than on the streets. By turning to legal processes instead of violence, the Dutch revealed a preference for structure and negotiation. Judges and magistrates played a crucial role in balancing competing interests, crafting compromises that allowed a fragile peace to endure. This reliance on peaceful mediation set the Dutch apart in an era when religious wars still raged elsewhere. At times, popular protests flared, pamphlets circulated, and voices rose in city squares. Petitions and letters poured in, urging leaders to tighten or loosen laws on religious practice. The resulting dialogues could be tense, but they made decision-making more open. Ordinary people were invited into the debate, participating in discussions that shaped lasting policies. This willingness to air grievances openly contributed to the Republic's culture of robust public conversation. Behind every moment of disagreement, families and friends faced personal dilemmas. Should old loyalties give way to new alliances, or could people find ways to blend differences within their own homes? Many stories tell of careful compromises, neighbours sharing holiday meals, or merchants working across boundaries of faith. These quiet acts of cooperation demonstrated how ordinary individuals helped bridge divides, showing that tolerance was often built in daily life, not just official decrees. As the Republic matured, recurring cycles of tension and reconciliation became almost another tradition. The lessons learned from past disputes were carried forward, shaping how future conflicts would be approached. Over time, the Dutch developed a reputation for seeking the middle ground, for favouring discussion over dogmatism. These experiences, though sometimes painful, taught the value of patience and adaptability in sustaining an inclusive society. Looking back, the Dutch approach to conflict was not perfect, but it was different. By facing tensions directly and refusing to silence difficult voices, the Republic pushed its society to grow. The struggle to build true tolerance required honesty about failings as well as successes. In choosing compromise over confrontation, the Dutch laid the groundwork for a more resilient, open community, setting an example that endures even in today's diverse world. Chapter 6. Global Reputation, a Tolerant Haven. As the Dutch Republic flourished, its reputation for tolerance began to echo far beyond its borders. Word spread quickly through Europe about this small nation where many beliefs could coexist in peace. Foreign visitors arrived from distant lands, curious and amazed, eager to see this openness for themselves. Stories from the Republic began inspiring writers and thinkers, storing imaginations about the possibilities of a more inclusive society. Travellers from England, France, and across the continent flocked to the Dutch ports and cities. They recorded tales of bustling streets filled with people of all backgrounds, peacefully sharing public spaces. Some wrote letters home, marvelling at synagogues and churches situated just streets apart. This openness seemed almost magical, so different from the religious strife many faced at home. The Dutch example became a source of fascination and even hope for many visitors. Writers and diplomats spread stories of what they witnessed in the Republic. Philosophers described the freedom of thought they felt while conversing with Dutch citizens. Poets wrote about colourful marketplaces teeming with merchants speaking various languages. Paintings and books captured the harmony of different communities living side by side. Through these accounts, the tolerant spirit of the Dutch Republic reached the libraries and salons of distant capitals, inspiring debate and reflection. Leaders from other countries began to take notice. Envoys arrived on fact-finding missions, eager to learn the secret behind the Dutch Republic's peaceful coexistence. They met with mayors and scholars, attending debates in lively meeting halls. Some even attended services in different religious buildings, witnessing the respect shown between faiths. Many departed with new ideas, seeds of tolerance that they hoped could be planted back in their own homelands. The Dutch reputation as a haven for all beliefs attracted not only visitors, but also those fleeing persecution. Communities from far and wide sought shelter in the Republic, bringing skills, knowledge, and new perspectives. The more diverse the population became, the more vibrant Dutch cities grew. This influx was not without challenges, but the benefits soon became clear. Innovation in science, art, and commerce blossomed as cultures blended. Even on the world stage, the Republic's tolerant identity served as an advantage. Dutch diplomats earned trust by promising fair treatment to all. Merchants gained new partners through open-minded negotiation and respect for diverse customs. These bridges helped build trade networks that spanned continents. In ships that sailed from Amsterdam's harbours, the ideals of tolerance travelled too, connecting people in distant lands and encouraging understanding across borders. Letters home from foreign visitors sometimes described the Dutch as puzzling, even quirky in their insistence on freedom of belief. Yet, most accounts were filled with admiration. The Republic seemed a rare place where passionate arguments could end in handshakes, where differences led not to conflict but to creativity. Over time, this reputation became part of the Dutch identity, strengthening their place in a changing and often divided world. By the end of the 17th century, the Dutch Republic had become much more than a local refuge. It was now a symbol, a living example that peaceful coexistence might be possible, even in tumultuous times. People across Europe looked to the Republic with aspiration, wondering if they too could build societies where diversity was welcomed and tolerance became a foundation for progress. The Dutch had lit a beacon that shone well beyond their shores. Chapter 7. Legacy, Freedom as Part of Identity. The story of Dutch religious tolerance does not simply end with the past. Instead, it continues to ripple across generations, leaving deep marks on the country's national identity. In this chapter, we pause to reflect on how embracing diverse beliefs became woven into the Dutch character, not just as a policy, but as a proud piece of who they are and aspire to be. For centuries, the willingness to accept different faiths defined the Netherlands in the eyes of its people and the wider world. This openness became more than a set of laws or traditions. It transformed into something deeply personal. Freedom of conscience and mutual respect became part of the Dutch self-image, qualities passed on within families, taught in schools, and celebrated as a heritage worth preserving for future generations. The Dutch experience inspired other societies to rethink their own values and boundaries. Recognizing the connection between tolerance and creativity, nations around the world looked to the Netherlands as a model. Artists, thinkers and communities carried these principles far beyond Dutch borders, sparking conversations about what it truly means to live freely and alongside those with different beliefs, a legacy that is still unfolding. Yet, even as Dutch society grew more inclusive, the journey was never without challenges. Each generation faced new questions about how to balance personal freedoms with the needs of a changing community. These ongoing debates made the pursuit of tolerance an evolving story, not a finished chapter. The willingness to revisit and renew these values kept them alive and meaningful in daily life. Today, reminders of this complicated, inspiring past appear everywhere in modern Dutch society. Museums, festivals, and city spaces celebrate the contributions of many different communities. Laws and public debates reflect the ongoing struggle to honour freedom while building unity. Each generation finds its own way to express what it means to belong in a place shaped by openness, adding new threads to an already rich tapestry. The influence of Dutch tolerance stretches far beyond the Low Countries. Internationally, movements for freedom of expression, religious rights, and peaceful coexistence often look to the Dutch example for inspiration. Whether in politics, art, or grassroots efforts, echoes of the Republic's legacy can be felt whenever diverse groups seek common ground. The story that began centuries ago continues to spark new beginnings in distant lands. As we reflect on this journey, listeners are invited to consider the importance of protecting and renewing the values of tolerance in their own lives. Each step toward greater understanding and acceptance is part of a much larger story that honours the past but looks to the future. The Dutch experience reminds us that identity is not fixed, it's shaped every day by the choices we make together. In closing, the Dutch legacy of tolerance stands as a proud achievement and an ongoing commitment. The freedom to think, believe and belong remains deeply embedded in the nation's story and continues to influence the world. As this chapter ends, may we all carry forward the spirit of respectful curiosity, courage and community that made the Dutch Republic extraordinary, and let it guide us as we write our own chapters of freedom.